In the mid-2000s, a young taxi driver named Marco worked long hours in Manila. He had a young family to support, so he often drove through the night, picking up passengers from all over the city. He had heard many strange stories from other drivers about ghostly passengers and haunted roads, but he never believed them. He thought these were just tales to scare the new drivers or to pass the time during long shifts. That was until something happened to him one night that he would never forget. One late evening, around 2 a.m., Marco was driving near the famous Balik Drive. It was a street infamous for ghost sightings, especially of a white lady that supposedly appeared to taxi drivers. Though Marco had never seen anything himself, he often avoided the area just in case. But that night, he wasn't thinking too much about it as he was tired and eager to pick up a final fare before heading home. As he drove down a deserted road parallel to Balik Drive, his taxi meter suddenly stopped. He looked down, confused. He tapped it, thinking it was just a technical glitch, but it didn't budge. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw something strange in his rearview mirror, a woman sitting in the back seat. She was dressed in an old-fashioned white dress, her hair long and loose, covering most of her face. Marco was startled. He hadn't heard the door open or felt the car shift as if someone had gotten in. He pulled over to the side of the road, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. He hesitated, unsure whether to speak or not. Finally, he mustered the courage to ask, "Saan pa kayo pupunta, ma'am?" "Where are you headed, ma'am?" The woman didn't respond. Marco's heart raced, and beads of sweat started to form on his forehead. He turned around to face her directly, but the back seat was empty. Shocked, he checked the rearview mirror again. She was gone. Marco, now shaking, quickly started the car and drove off, trying to get as far away from that road as possible. His hands were trembling so badly that he struggled to keep the car straight on the road. He repeatedly glanced at the rearview mirror, expecting to see the woman reappear. A few minutes later, as he was about to exit the area, his phone rang. It was his wife. When he answered, her voice was frantic. "Are you okay?" she asked. Marco, still shaken, asked why she was so worried. "I had a dream," she said. "I saw you driving, but there was a woman in white sitting behind you. She was staring at you, but her face, it wasn't human. She was reaching out, about to touch your shoulder." Marco's blood ran cold. His wife had never mentioned anything about ghost stories or Balik Drive before, and for her to describe exactly what he had seen was too much for him to handle. He immediately drove home, not picking up any more passengers that night. When he arrived, he didn't tell his wife what happened. He didn't want to scare her any more than she already was. But from that day on, Marco avoided driving anywhere near Balik Drive. He also made sure to always glance at his back seat before starting his shift, just to be sure that no one, or nothing, was riding with him again. Years later, Marco shared the story with his fellow drivers. Some of them nodded in agreement, saying they had heard of similar encounters, while others said they had seen her too. Whether she was the infamous White Lady of Balik Drive or another restless spirit, Marco never forgot that chilling encounter, nor did he ever fully believe the road was empty at night. From then on, whenever he drove late at night, he kept the rearview mirror angled just enough to see the road, and not what might be lurking in the back seat.